Are you sure?
Yes.
How sure are you of your answers?
Would you be willing to stake your life on it?
I think so.
What about his life?
I don't know.
When we're making decisions not just for ourselves, but for somebody else, our brain's calculus changes, our risk level changes. And this may be why some companies spend millions of dollars bringing in external experts to tell us what they already know. Today, we're going to talk about why leaders outsource responsibility and how the brain processes social hierarchies and why being number two might be giving you an evolutionary edge. A recent Science Advances study did a simple experiment. People earned money for choosing which of the two options had more dots. When the difference was pretty obvious, it makes sense that people were faster, more accurate, and more confident about their answer. Cool. But this time, their decision didn't just affect their payout, but also the payout of other people. And they're suddenly less confident about their decisions, even though they were just as accurate about their answers. The experimenters thought that maybe the stakes were too high, so they reduced the stakes and they got the same result. People were not as confident about their decisions when they had to make a decision for somebody else versus just themselves. So much so that when they're given the option, they're gladly defer to experts to decide on their behalf.
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False. This is the worldwide threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations.
This is responsibility aversion.
You've stated today that the intelligence community's assessment is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated and that, quote, there had been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to the president based on a volume of information that he receives.
It is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States.
It's almost as if you hired the external consultant. And this is creating a win-win scenario for you, because when the recommendation they give you works out, then that works great. You get credit. But if it doesn't work out in the end, then you still are fine, because you can just say, hey, even the experts with top dollar couldn't figure this out. Who am I to solve it, right? When you decide for others and not just for yourself, you're not only just thinking about losing money, but you're also thinking about potentially damaging your reputation, how others see you, your social status, your rank. And that's why the brain is looking at it as potentially a risk and status threat. And that's because our brains are built to track status constantly. We're naturally drawn to high status. Our obsession with the royal family, the richest people in the world, and the A-listers is ingrained in our biology. Recent research suggests that we allocate our attentional resources even before our eyes move. Scientists tracking eye movements of monkeys have found that the brain is always tracking the social rankings of monkeys. Monkey brains do it in a predictive way. They tend to look at the monkey that's alpha longer and more frequently. And it looks like the brain knows the social status of whatever you're about to look next, even before the eyes move. When a monkey shifts gaze from a subordinate to a dominant monkey, the electrical signals in the amygdala change about 100 milliseconds before it starts gazing at the dominant one. It's like the brain is anticipating, hey, this person matters, or this monkey matters to look at. Where are your eyes at in this awkward situation, by the way? If being first ranked comes with so much constant stress to keep your status symbol and protect your standing, you might as well just be second. Actually, according to this study, it might not be a bad strategy to be in a lower rank. From an evolutionary perspective, here, mice that were ranked second in their social hierarchy had a superior immune response when they were injected with viral DNA. Better immunity, better health than any other mouse that they tested. Even the top-ranked mouse, which is crazy. By the way, if you're ever curious about how they figure out who the mouse boss is without having to have them cage fight to death, they use a really interesting test tube test. It's fascinating, let me tell you. They do a test. They put two mice facing each other into a test tube and see which one pushes out the other. Essentially, they're testing dominance based on their ability to take space. Then they repeat the test like the NFL playoffs to figure out the first, second, third, etc. The authors were able to track down the main source of this immune response and the dominance. And it seems like it had a lot to do with the synaptic strength in the neurons of the prefrontal cortex, but not testosterone or regression, interestingly enough. Man, I know a lot of you are men watching this video. If you feel so compelled to be alpha constantly, just remember, this study didn't find correlation between high testosterone and dominance. Actually, they only saw high testosterone in mice when there was pretty unclear social hierarchies, like the hierarchies were still being figured out, or the high status mouse was under threat. Plus, excessive pursuit of social status might ironically hurt your chances in modern dating. In this paper titled When Social Status Gets in the Way of Reproduction in Modern Settings, an Evolutionary Mismatch Perspective, the authors describe an interesting adaptive problem that we face in our modern world. That today, the drive for social status, originally designed to improve survival and mating success, may ironically divert individuals from reproductively conducive behavior. And it's about how our social status motives may be excessively activated in modern contexts at the expense of fertility. Well, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to be the best person you could possibly be, but it sort of brings up an interesting discussion point about, the obsessive ranking system that we have in our society and what that might do to our health, to our society, to our community. I had a lot of fun making this video, and if you enjoyed this video, love to hear from you. Like and subscribe, and I hope to see you more in the comments.